Today we are going to talk about percents. By the end of class, you will be able to connect ratios, fractions, and percents, kind of bringing all of them together one full circle. Let's talk about what it means, what a percent definition is. A percent is a part to whole ratio, where the whole is 100. So every time when we're working with percents, we're comparing something to 100. That means your 100 is always going to be your denominator. We know that when we write percent, we use this symbol here. How do we write this with numbers? Well, we have 60%. So if somebody says 60%, what that means is 60 out of 100. 60 is being compared to that whole of 100. As a fraction, it's written 60 over 100. Now, we can simplify that down, but for starters, know that 60% as a fraction is written 60 over 100. So how you would read that is the 60 is your part. That fraction bar reads as per 100, which is your whole. 60 per 100, part per whole. How do we write this algebraically? N percent is then equal to n over 100. You may need to simplify your fraction though. So for here, we would have to simplify that. All right, so how do I convert percents into fractions? Well, I start by removing the percent symbol. So I get rid of that. I don't want to have a percent symbol in my fraction that's saying 60% per 100, which is incorrect. Then you're saying percent essentially. So you remove the percent symbol, write the fraction over 100. So you take whatever number your percent was, remove the symbol, and then put 100 as your denominator, and then you simplify if you can. So here you have an example. Here's a 100 square, and 45% of the square is shaded, which means 45 out of 100 squares are colored. So you start by writing 45%. I remove my percent and just simply take that 45 and put it as a numerator. My denominator will always be 100. And then I simplify that by dividing both of these by 5, getting me 9/20. So 45% is equal to 9/20. Let's go ahead and try a couple of examples here. We have to start 5%. So if I'm going to write 5% as a fraction, I would start by writing 5% equals. Okay, so now I get rid of this percent symbol and put my 5 as my numerator. My denominator will always be 100. And then I can simplify that down. Can I divide both 5 and 100 by the same thing? Yep, I can divide them both by 5, getting me 1/20. So 5% is equal to 1/20. Let's try another example here. We've got 168%. Slightly different since 168 is greater than 100, but we still follow the same steps. 168%. I remove the percent symbol and write 168 as my numerator. My denominator will always be 100 when I'm working with percent. And now I simplify. If I divide both of these by 4, I will get 42 over 25. Now, we could leave it like this as an improper fraction. It's improper because our 168 is greater than 100, but I like to write it as a mixed number. So 25 goes into 42 one whole time with 17 left over and 25 in the denominator. I like comparing the 168% to a mixed number because this is telling me that I have one whole group of 100, and then this is that 68%. So it's 168%. All right, why don't you try one here? So we've got 36%. So I'm going to rewrite that, 36%. My first step is to remove what? I remove my percent symbol. And then where does that 36 go? 36 goes in my numerator. What should my denominator be? Will my denominator always, sometimes, or never be 100? Sort of a trick question because eventually we simplify that down. Yes, so we always start off with that 100. Now I see, can I divide these by the same thing? Yes, I can divide them both by 4. So I do that and get 9/25. All right, why don't you try this one on your own? 83%. What is that written as a fraction? Well, we actually can't simplify this one. So it would simply be 83 over 100. So here we took our percents and turned them into fractions, but we can go the other way as well. We can turn fractions into percent. So what we do is we find equivalent fractions where 100 is the denominator. Then we remove the denominator and replace it with a percent symbol. So for example, here we have 3/25. How do we write that as a percent? Well, we take that 3/25 and it's going to be equaled to, we don't know what the numerator is going to be, but the denominator is going to be 100, How do I get from 25 to 100? I multiply by 4. So I multiply my numerator by 4. 3 times 4 is 12. I get rid of this percent or this denominator and throw in my percent symbol. So let's try this here. So we have 31/50. So I write my 31/50, which is going to be equal to something over 100. We don't know what that is, so I'm actually going to put a variable here. X, I don't know what goes there yet. Now, for this one, I know that 50 times 2 gets me 100. Therefore, again, I need to keep it equivalent. So I multiply 31 times 2. Therefore, X is going to be 62. Now, when I write X equals 62, I don't say X is 62% because then that would be saying 62% here, and then I'd be reading 62% per 100, which is incorrect. So X equals 62, meaning that the percent is 62%. 31/50 equals 62%. Kind of, sort of. All right, let's try this next one here. So again, I can set up 7/25. So we're setting up an equation here. 7/25 has to be equivalent to something over 100. We just don't know what that something is yet. Now, I know that if I multiply 25 by 4, I can get 100. But if I don't know what I can divide by, I can go ahead and, multiply by. I can go ahead and divide 100 by 25. 100 divided by 25, and it'll tell me 4. So for example, I said 100 divided by 4 gets me 25. Therefore, I have to multiply this by the same thing, if that makes sense. So if I don't know how to get from 25 to 100, I can divide 100 by 25, whatever that answer is, I divide that. And then I multiply my numerator to find my unknown. 7 times 4 is 28, so x gets me 28. Therefore, 7/25 equals 28%. So when we write our percent, we get rid of that denominator. Why don't you try the next one here? It says 19/20. So again, I set up my equation. What percent will I get to? 19/20 is equivalent to something over 100. What is my percent? Well, I know that I can multiply this by 5, so I multiply this by 5, getting me x equals 95. Therefore, 19/20 is equal to 95%. We've got one more example here, and it's slightly different again because we have that mixed number. So what I can actually do here is rewrite, so it'd be 1 1/2 equals, again, something over 100. But now we know that that 1 is 1 whole, which is 100. Okay, so we know that already. So I'm actually going to just look at this second part, that fraction piece. I know that 2 times 50 gets me 100. So 1 times 50 will get me my numerator. X equals 50. Now, I don't have 50%, remember, because 50% is only part of 100, but I have that whole additional 100. So what I actually do is I have 50 plus that additional 100, meaning that my percent is 150%. So 1 1/2 written as a percent is 150%. If you have that mixed number, you have more than 100. So just writing 50% does not work.